playing the theme a little longer today. Good morning and welcome to Nature Watch. Nature Watch is sponsored by Waddell's Nursery, Floral, Garden, and Bird Center at the corner of 12th Street and Millam Road. And now here's your host of Nature Watch. It's Gary Miller. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Try this again. Okay, try talking again.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
No, I can't.
You can't hear me now?
Hold on.
So we try the
Well,
other
let me
one?
see. Did we move mics around or something?
Does this one work?
There we. Oh, there
You
you
can hear
go.
me?
There you go.
Okay, there we go.
We had them mixed up. Holy cow!
Okay.
Someone's coming in playing pranks on me. That's what's going on.
So I am live today. So yeah.
You are here in the building. You're not from South County.
Yeah.
There you go.
Or
Okay.
up in Grand Rapids.
I have the one dumb question to ask you.
Oh, there's no
to
such
kick
thing as a
everything.
dumb question. I give dumb answers, but not dumb questions.
Well, get ready for both. Why am I wearing flannel on May 24th? Why?
Because
Why?
it's Michigan and we're below average temperatures.
Okay, I'll buy that then. All right, cool. There you
Yeah.
go.
And actually, it got really clear overnight. So we might have a little touch of frost in some of those lower areas.
Yeah.
I was a little questionable in my yard there. It looked like maybe a few spots might have had just a touch in the yard. With that clear sky, but it's nice to see the clear sky this morning. We've had so many cloudy, dreary days this week, though we did have some nice rain, welcome rain, nice slow soaking rain, which we needed very much. So actually talking about rain, so a week ago I mentioned that we might be out of that abnormally dry condition from the drought monitor, and this week when the drought monitor new map came out as of Tuesday, which would have taken into account the rains we got last Thursday, we were still abnormally dry.
You know, this last week, it was dreary. It was blah. But we didn't get really a lot of rain.
So I had a little over an inch, which is nice, and we needed that moisture, but the soil moisture is still depleted quite a bit. So I'm going to guess we're not going to be out of abnormally dry this week. If we are, we're just.
Right.
We're not getting our typical, what I call average spring rains, and that soil is very dry. So I'm going to guess we're going to stay in that abnormally dry condition for a while.
I'm just happy of one thing. I did not see anything white fall from the sky.
Well, that's a good thing. Well, except some flower petals here and there from some of the crab apples. Or
Of course.
haven't seen any cotton floating around yet from the cottonwoods, but that's coming soon.
Oh, my nose can't wait.
But the only thing that's been coming down so far this week that I've noticed is some yellow stuff, i.e. the spruce and pine pollens have really been quite prevalent out there. So
Okay.
at least my system is telling me that.
Oh, okay. We have an assistant this morning, Emily Capitano, sitting in, learning this side of everything, so she can possibly sit in here and give me a break. Or actually, in a couple of weeks, we'll be downtown anyway for the art show. So,
Yes.
so she's learning the ropes here. So feel free to throw her under the nature bus at any time.
So that's a hint to all the listeners out there. So make lots of calls in, lots of texts. We'll keep her busy when she fills in for Jim.
There you go. I told her I'd get my cardio going next door to answer phones. So there you go. Speaking of answering phones.
Yes.
Now, this is the only time that I throw my trust to the wind. I really do. Because Gary, every Saturday morning, has a trivia question. And we give away a $20 gift card to Waddell's for the first correct answer to Gary's trivia question. He occasionally throws up softballs. He occasionally does two-parters. Anytime he does a two-parter, I start throwing things at him. Okay? Yeah. So just remember that.
So this one might be a softball, might not. Depends on how many people were paying attention to the news this week, because it wasn't out there everywhere, but it was out there, actually, a lot of Facebook posts. So this last week, there were 5 birds that are very rare to Michigan were sighted on Gun Lake. What birds were sighted? And they're not typically even in this part of the country, but there were lots of Facebook posts about it. So we'll see if somebody was paying attention on that. There was some things in the news about it. Very unusual birds. And one little hint, they're very large birds.
Now, I remember that being a news story, but I forgot what the birds were. So there you go.
Well, you can't win anyway. So.
That's right. I can't play. But you can, 269-382-4280. First correct answer, and Google away. If you can get that right, we'll give you a gift card.
Yep.
Simple
so
as that.
5 birds that were they're very rare to Michigan, sighted on Gun Lake this last week. What are the birds that were sighted? All five are the same type of bird, so not multiple birds. So there's only one correct answer here.
Okay.
So on the way in this morning, I had to slow down because there is a deer standing in the middle of the road, looking down the stripe, facing the same direction I was going. I don't know if it was trying to moon me or something, but it finally moved. I got up close to it. It finally ran off to the side of the road, but I'm not sure what it was doing. One deer, I don't know, maybe it was just meditating and looking at the paint stripes on the pavement or something. I don't know. Maybe he was confused.
That's very possible. I've seen lots of deer out there.
Oh, there's lots of deer out there, and actually lots of goslings and geese. I've had to slow down several times this week to wait for geese and their goslings to cross the road. They're just getting to the other side. It's just like the chickens. I'm full of them today, Jim.
Repeat your trivia question if you could.
So this last week, 5 birds rare to Michigan were sighted on Gun Lake. What birds were sighted?
269-382-4280 if you want to take a shot at it. People are either Googling or sleeping in.
Yeah, and actually there's not one that pops up right away. You got to do a little searching when you Google it. I a lot of times sample my questions on Google to see what comes up or how fast they come up.
So we may be giving this away about 8:55 or so,
Might
right?
be.
Yeah. Okay.
So we, had that rain this week. We're still in that drought situation. This last week, I saw some red-headed woodpeckers in my yard, and I think they're nesting in the tree across the road, another field across the road. But don't see those that often in Southwest Michigan. There's little populations here and there, which I always tell people when I was growing up, that was the woodpecker that I always cited because that was the only one that was in my parents' woods, 40-acre woods on the farm I grew up on. Were red-headed woodpeckers. So that was, somebody mentioned a woodpecker, I would think of red-headed woodpecker. There are not as common, so there's pockets of them here and there. I know in Allegan State Forest, there's some pockets of them. There's other populations here and there. So that was nice to see.
Okay.
Everybody's still Googling or they're still sipping their coffee. Or maybe everybody's sleeping in this morning because it's so chilly out there.
Yeah, we'll cut them some slack this time, but we'll keep it open. First correct answer once to Gary's trivia question will win a Waddell's gift card. Throw it one more time just for fun, then we'll move on.
So this last week, 5 birds rare to Michigan were sighted on Gun Lake. So that's a little hint there because they're probably birds that like sitting on water. And I also gave you a hint they're very large birds. So what were the birds that were sighted?
I think your clue might have helped because we have a caller.
Ah.
Good morning, WKZO.
Good morning.
Hey, who is this?
This is Andrea.
Hi, Andrea. Yeah, we're just having way too much fun this morning. Okay,
I know. I listened to the other. Well, I Googled it.
Okay.
So this is, I don't know if I'm right, American white pelican?
That is correct.
Hey, there you go. How about
Oh, I
that?
can't believe that.
Yeah, so it's actually so they had some photos. It was confirmed sighting. There's been some sightings occasionally in Michigan of the American white pelican. They don't typically come this far east. They're west of the Mississippi typically, and they usually actually nest up in up near British Columbia, up in Canada, northern U.S., Montana, northern Minnesota, the Dakotas. There's a few pockets sort of mid-country, and then there's one little pocket down in Texas on the Gulf Coast that they nest and breed. But migration-wise, occasionally you might see them here migrating through. In recent years, they've been sighted a little more frequently, but they're still rare to Michigan. So a very unusual bird, very large bird, very unusually large, and one of the largest birds, actually just down in size from the condor. So quite a large wingspan, and they're very white. So neat thing with them. They actually cooperate when they feed, so they feed in large groups. So they usually gather in wetlands. They coordinate their swimming to drive schooling the fish towards the shallows, and then they scoop them up with their bills. They have to provide roughly 150 pounds of food to nourish their young from birth to when they fledge or time they're ready to fly away from the nest and forage on their own. And
Are they nesting here now? Were they nesting or just coming through?
they're just coming through so far. They've not seen any reports or not any reports that I ran across that they're nesting here in Michigan yet. Usually just migrating through. Might have been blown east a little bit with some of the storms that came through. Though we're starting to see a little more occasionally sightings, so we may start seeing them nesting this far east. Just a large bird.
That'd be kind of cool.
So
There you go. Andrea,
Well,
you can take that to the water cooler Tuesday morning and amaze your friends.
I will.
Yeah, there you
Believe
go.
me.
We have a $20 gift card coming, but I need to get some information from you. Can you hold on the line?
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Andrea.
congratulations.
And we will be back with more Nature Watch after this break here on WKZO.
Come enjoy great savings during the 79th anniversary celebration going on now at Waddell's Nursery Florist and Garden Center. Waddell's lost power and phone service from last week's storm, but the good news for you, service has been restored, and these special anniversary savings are being extended through May 28th. Get tomatoes, peppers, and other veggie plants in 3.5-inch pots on sale for $1.79. Beautiful 7 to 8 foot Purple Prince crabapple trees are sale priced at just $79. It's a great time to repair lawns. Waddell's Jaguar grass seed and low maintenance shady grass seed are both on sale for only $4.79 per pound. Perennial salvia plants are just $9.79 and save 20% off strawberry plants. See other great savings on outdoor furniture, birdseed, kids' toys, and so much more at the 79th anniversary celebration at Waddell's Nursery Florist and Garden Center. Open Monday through Friday 9 to 7, Saturdays 9 to 6. Special Memorial Day hours 9 to 5.
I like that it's local.
More Kalamazoo area local news than ever before.
I like that it's local.
On 590 and 106.9 FM.
I like the local news.
WKZO.
8:44. Nature Watch continues with Gary Miller. And while we have her here, Emily, do you have any questions for this person? She can't even open her mouth. I have her mic on and everything.
So she was thinking we might have to name somebody might have to name 5 different birds. So my thought was, okay, one of them's named William, one Fred, maybe Roger. So the pelicans actually, contrary to cartoon portrayals and common misconceptions, never carry their food in their bill pouches. They use those bill pouches to scoop up food, but swallow their catch before flying off. And a lot of times they will steal food from other birds, including other pelicans. So when they're trying to get swallow those large fish, another pelican may come in and try to steal their food. And usually they're successful about a third of the time, which is unusual for birds trying to steal food from others. And they also will steal prey from double-crested cormorants that they a lot of times are seen feeding with. And sometimes they'll even steal food from a parent when they're nesting from an adjacent nest, and the parent has disgorged food for its young, and they actually steal some of that food. So they usually exclusively feed by day when they're in the winter, usually down along the Gulf Coast. And but during the breeding season, they usually forage at night. So they usually, a lot of times, we're not going to see them during the day out and about on the water. When they're migrating, they do, but not when they're nesting. So they are a very, very big bird. So if you have a chance to get up near Gun Lake, you might be able to see some of those. I'm not sure if they're still there or not. That was first part of the week when they were sighted.
If you have any questions or comments from Gary, for Gary, I should say, 269-382-4280. If you're radio shy, you can text it to 80373.
So, and if you're out and about on those bodies of water, you want to make sure that you are being very cautious and preventing spread of invasive species. So make sure your boats are clean, your gear is clean, and
I heard a bit on one of the conservation shows out and about. So yeah.
Yeah, so there's lots of there's invasive plants. Actually, there's a webinar coming up this week that Eagle is going to put on, and I'm going to try to listen into that just to see. But there are some numerous plant invasive species. We've had zebra mussels in the past we have to worry about. Plus, we've got some other invasive animals. So want to be careful. Want to be careful what kind of bait you use. And so the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, otherwise known as Eagle, and Michigan MDARD, Agricultural and Rural Development Department, both have put out a couple of news press releases as far as how to keep your boat and your equipment clean and you don't spread any invasives around. So go to either one of those websites and go to their press release site page, and you can see that info.
Okay.
And I have a couple of other, this is sort of a public service announcement day, it seems like. So we had storm damage last week. A little over a week ago. Mm-hmm. And So when you're cleaning up storm damage, take into account what kind of trees they are. We talked about that a little bit last week because we got to be concerned about oak wilt, but be careful when you, especially if you have some limbs that are hanging up there. If it's near power lines, have the power company or have a professional come out and take those. Be safe with that. But when you're walking out and about now, with all these storms we've had down here, but especially up north, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. Look up when you're walking around because there's some of those branches that are just hanging up there. And just a little wind disturbance or just a little slight shift with the plants, maybe the limb is partially alive yet and it gets a little more weight in the leaves, all of a sudden it'll break off.
I saw that actually when I was out driving around. I saw a couple of branches just come out of nowhere. And that's the thing with these storms, they cause their damage, but there's also damage after the fact because of everything loosened up so much, it won't take much.
Yeah, it's not going to take much. And so they actually, up north, the DNR has a separate web page on their website regarding all the damage up north from the ice storm. And so they have a listing of what state parks and facilities are closed, state forest areas of trails that may be closed, bodies of water that may be closed. And so they mentioned to everybody to be very cautious when you're out and about because a lot of those trails have a lot of hanging branches and with all that damage. So check out that DNR page as far as they actually have keep it updated fairly regularly, and they leave an update too as far as what actions they're taking to try to clean things up.
Did you happen to notice what the drought indicator shows for up north? Because with all of those downed trees, you get into a real dry situation, and we could have trouble.
So far, they're okay up there. It isn't even abnormally dry like it is down here, so we're just in that usual condition so far. But they're really worried about that because all that down timber may be a forest fire hazard this year if we get dry. Yeah. So I know they've been trying to get things cleaned up as much as possible. Property owners are trying to clean things up, and they have tried to do a lot of. They've done some extensive enhanced firewood permits for people to take wood from state lands, just to try to clean some of those areas up. But just tremendous damage up there. So it's be careful if you go up that way, and especially on any of the streams up there. If you're canoeing or kayaking, there's a lot of times limbs in that are floating downstream. So be a little cautious with that. So a lot of damage up there. And speaking of wood, so if you get some wood up there, you want to burn it up there. You don't want to transport it.
We had this discussion last week.
Yes, we did. So so MDART put another email press release out regarding making sure people leave those hitchhiking pests at where they are. Don't spread them around. Besides some of the diseases, there's a lot of insects that can get transported with cut firewood. So don't take wood, or if you're going, traveling a distance, and burn it where you obtain the wood. So if you're traveling up north camping, buy wood locally there so you don't move those invasive species. And that's very important because sometimes that firewood, especially if we have areas that we're starting to see some spotted lanternfly, those egg masses can be hidden in a piece of firewood, and we do not want to spread that around.
Right.
That's a very, very big concern as far as trying to make sure that we keep our lands clean and keep those spotted lanternflies away.
Yeah, some of these invasive species became invasive because of us.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Either on purpose. Sometimes we've had invasive plants that were brought in because they looked fantastic, and all of a sudden there was nothing eating them or affecting them, and they just took off, and the birds spread seed everywhere. One I can think of was like multiflora rose that was used years ago for a living livestock fence, and because it had all the thorns, it was very thick. And birds spread seed everywhere, and it's just about everywhere now. So there's multiple species like that. So with the hummingbirds and the orioles back feeding and that, you want to keep your hummingbirds safe from predators in your yard. And so there's some one of the biggest threats to hummingbirds and actually any bird feeding in your yard are those cats that you might have, a household cat you let outside, or if you have outside cats. So try to make sure that they stay. Keep them away from the feeder area. Surprisingly, praying mantis will also catch hummingbirds. So if you see a large praying mantis hanging around your hummingbird feeder, you might want to relocate it. They estimate that those praying mantis actually eat quite a few. Actually, they suck all the juice out of the hummingbird when they catch them. They catch them with their pincers in the front, and but bees occasionally will attack the hummingbirds. Usually, it's more likely the hummingbirds will attack the bees if the bees are around, or they just leave them alone when the bees are on their hummingbird feeder. And but all the predators too. Snakes, lizards, blue jays, crows, chipmunks, raccoons. So they all will prey sometimes on hummingbirds, especially the nesting ones because they're so small. So try to locate your feeders so they've got some nice clear area so those predators can't hang around there. So something to keep in mind. Mm-hmm. And if you're trying to attract more hummingbirds, now's a good time to plant some plants to attract those hummingbirds. So there's a lot of flowers that will help attract those hummingbirds. Cardinal flower, bee balm. There's a lot of native plants. Penstemons. And actually some of the hosta species, with actually a lot of them with their blooms, will attract the hummingbirds. Catmint, agastache, eastern red columbine, which is just sort of spread naturally everywhere. The trumpet honeysuckle, which is a native. And then like salvias, you have that trumpet-shaped bloom. Even zinnias, those annuals in the garden. You can do red hot poker, but some of those unusual things. Delphinium. The trumpet vine, the native trumpet vine, those get quite large, but those big blooms, red blooms, the hummingbirds love feeding on those later on.
I noticed a couple of social media posts from the Grand Rapids area. Some hummingbird fans have not seen any hummingbirds, so here are some tips. There you go.
Yeah, so actually I was checking the migration journey north maps, and there's been hummingbirds sighted all over Michigan. So if you haven't had any hummingbird activity yet, be patient. Sometimes it takes them a little bit time to discover those feeders. I know we've had our feeder up, and they occasionally have been in there, not in there a lot. So right now they're nesting. So I'm not sure. Maybe at their odd times when we don't see them or have a chance to observe them. So they are definitely out there and they're nesting right now. So they're around. Make sure you just keep your feeder clean. If you haven't had much activity, you may have to change your nectar in there and make sure it stays safe for the hummers.
Okay.
So, so it we're going to see some activity. These cold temperatures, they're probably sort of hunkering down, trying to stay warm, probably shivering somewhere.
Yeah. The storms that we had, 2 Thursdays ago. Wow, time flies when you're having fun.
Well, it's hard to believe we're at the end of May almost. So
yeah, exactly. That actually extended your 79th anniversary sale, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and actually the nice thing with the cool temperatures, we've had a lot of those blooms have stayed on those plants for a long time. So we've got a lot of color. So that's one benefit of having some cooler temperatures. We are due for some warm temperatures, and this next week looks like it's still going to be below average. Get highs approaching the average of 73 highs, but not quite there. So, getting close. So I'm just hoping that we just get that gradual warm up. We do need that warm up. We don't want to go from the 70s and then pop up to the 90s all of a sudden.
Oh, we've already done that.
Well, yeah. Well, and it's Michigan. We'll probably do it again.
Well, okay, not 90, but we were playing around with that thought process.
It was getting close. It got close. So about a week ago, I was sitting out in the yard and heard this bird. There wasn't much bird noise out there, not many birds singing. And then this one bird started singing, and it seemed like it drowned anything else that was out there. And I was like, boy, I wonder what that bird is. It's singing very loudly. I used my Merlin app and identified it. It was can't see it, but the bird identified was a brown thrasher, and they're about robin size. They are usually hard to see because they're so brown. They do nest in this area, and there's usually quite a few of them around. It can be an aggressive defender of its nest, so they nest in usually some very thick, dense cover. So if you want to have some thrashers around, they're more entertaining than mockingbirds because they know more songs than the mockingbird do. So mockingbirds will imitate lots of bird calls and songs, usually 200 or more. The brown thrasher, they've done studies. Brown thrasher typically will have over 1,100 songs that they know.
Wow!
So quite an ear for music. And typically when they make a call or a song that they do, they actually repeat it twice. So you see, so if you hear them out there, they're usually quite loud. But I think I noticed a couple times I did hear them, there was hardly any other bird songs out there at all. So the brown thrasher, they're very loud. Just seemed to dominate what was out there. So something neat to listen for. Might not see them. You usually don't see them very often, but you can hear them.
There you go. Okay. You're suited up, so you're heading in. Yeah. Well, yeah, you still have a sale to run.
Yeah. Well, actually, people planting yet. Lots of things,
Right.
looking at ideas, looking for some more plants to put out in the yard for their pollinators and the birds and that, and just for their own enjoyment.
Yeah.
And with these cool temperatures, people have okay, we'll just take our time a little bit here and plant. Because it's been cool.
Yeah, there you go. Gary, thank you, sir. And also, congratulations to Andrea, big winner of our $20 gift card
Yes.
to Waddell's. There you go. And we thank you for listening to this edition of Nature Watch. Tune in each Saturday at 8:30 for Nature Watch, brought to you by Waddell's Nursery, Floral, Garden, and Bird Center at the corner of 12th Street and Millam Road. CBS and local news is up next. And then Andy Waddell joins us for our next edition of Over the Garden Fence, coming up next right here on 590 and 106.9 FM WKZO.